It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of #EventIcons, presented by Endless Events, the show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. Use the question panel on the webinar to submit your questions, or you can hop on Twitter. Submit your questions with #EventIcons. We'll be answering your questions live during the entire show. Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better conversation we can have. So please help share #EventIcons on Twitter and Facebook. Just tell your friends to watch at www.event-icons.com. Now, without any further delay, this is #EventIcons.
All right, so let's look at some of the issues we have in our industry. So sponsorship is obviously huge for every industry, including ours. But let's look at both sides. So let's look at it first from your Cema perspective. So if you have organizations who are interested in becoming involved in sponsoring Cema, what does that look like for you?
There's a lot of different levels. It's kind of hard to break this out. So we have the yearly sponsorships that we have throughout the year but mainly it's around Cema Summit, because that is the main bulk of that revenue. And we couldn't do what we do without our sponsors. Let's be really real there.
Nobody can. So
yeah. So between the AV and World Stage and all of other companies that come in, they give us a lot of in-kind items that we wouldn't be able to do a lot of stuff without. However, the paid sponsors do come in. But again, they have to be a member. If they're not a member, they have to, if they want to come in, they have to pay the membership, and then they have to be the sponsor, but they have to also bring in a client-side event marketer, even for Summit. So it's, we have to have them. We love to have them. It makes it more of a great experience for the attendees. It is a challenge, though, because especially when you move to different venues every year, and this clientele wants the best of the best, and they expect it. And so you need to make sure you've got your A game on, and all those sponsors know that. It's a challenge.
So far, so good, I'm going to say. So from what I've seen. So now,
yeah,
Tom.
no, that's good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So now, Tom, you have worked at many organizations where you have been a sponsor of things. So what are you looking for as a sponsor of an event? How do you think it's evolved in the last even 5 years? I think there's been quite a lot of changes. So how are you seeing what's going on in the world?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing that I look for if I'm going to put dollars into an event is the audience. So who's going to be there? Because from a B2B perspective, we're looking for sales opportunities. So if the audience is if it's the right audience to put my executive team or sales team in front of, then we'll go heavy. And a lot of the times, if it's a first time sponsoring something, we don't know what the audience is like. So I tend to want to experience the event first, and get a taste for what it's like, what the content tracks are like, the venues that they choose, and then potentially bring one of my salespeople with me to really vet it out, and then then we'll come home and discuss it and decide whether or not we want to go in small, medium, large, sole sponsor, whatever it takes. So there's a lot of homework that you have to do. You can't just go into something blind and throw a bunch of money at it and hope for the best.
I think there's so many. What you just said had so many smart things in it, and it's certainly something I know that we're seeing more of. Is people who are considering sponsorship saying, well, can I come this year? And if we can't say yes, then I think that as an event, you're probably making not the best decision, because at the end of the day, it's one person, which is not the biggest cost impact, but it's also it's like buying a dress online, right? You just try you get it home, you try it on, you're like, oh, it didn't work. When you start to talk about not a dress, but a large dollar sponsorship, it has to fit.
I've had a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot. I've had more than I would expect folks come back to me and say that they don't offer audit opportunities. And just flat out said, okay, well, there's no way I'm ever going to sponsor your event if I've never been to it. So you have two choices, right? You can either pass on me and move on to somebody else, or you can give me a ticket, because I'm not going to sponsor your event if I haven't attended it.
And to your point, Tom, I think if you even a day pass, it's not going to hurt for someone to come for a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's if they're local, they have someone that they want to see, and if it's that important, I mean, if someone's going to say they're going to maybe spend $30,000 on an event, it's worthwhile for you to give them, $500 a day pass to do what they need to do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They definitely don't. When somebody's serious about auditing, they don't need the 3 or 4 or 5 day experience. They just need to really.
Oh yeah, just need to get a taste.
Yeah, so everyone needs to be, I think, let's act like business-minded grown-ups about it, is my feeling. But that's, we know sometimes what happens. So just the way it is. So what are the things that, you have a pretty new role, but so what are some of the events that you're seeing are kind of, doing things really well right now out there in your space?
Oh gosh. Well, we do a lot of our own events. We do a lot of owned and operated stuff because, for the most part, to truly engage our current clients and prospects, we find that it's best to bring them, sort of to our turf, right? So we do these really incredible summits where we'll, choose very similar to how Cema approaches their base. You pick a great place, you spare no expense around the food and the entertainment, and you give them great content and great activities. And when they walk away, they're feeling, refreshed, not exhausted, and they're feeling smarter, not more confused, and they're remembering your brand over your competitors because of the way you delivered the message to them. So for us, that's a really important thing. So to answer the question, I guess I would say we're doing it as best as I've seen it out there in the industry. But there are also a bunch of industry events that we do as well. We're still a part of CES, which a lot of people are very confused about that. They wonder why, B2B ad tech companies spend so much time and energy at a, consumer electronics show. But again, if you're focused on the audience, then it would make perfect sense, right? Because we are a platform for brands and agencies. And so it's the number one largest consumer show in the world, and they're all brands. So it's an incredible place for us to position ourselves. Other events that are really important are like Cannes Lions, which is coming up in a couple of weeks in Cannes. To Mexico, which is a great event in Cologne, Germany. Advertising Week, New York. So there are still those industry tentpole events that are doing things really well, and we find ourselves repeating them year over year. So I've done all of those events with every company I've been with for the last 10 years because they're still delivering great outcomes.
Well, I think to your point about, doing, your own, which is because then you can really control the experience, is important. So Kim, you guys also, Cema does a number of other events during the year, some really great pop-up events and things. So how are you, tell us a little bit about the experiences you've been doing and why you've chosen those ones.
Well, we started doing study tours. And so we realized that a lot of our members really wanting to know what the other people were doing in their, say if it's a user conference or whatever. And so we started doing behind the scenes study tours, and we had a few this year. We've done Ignite, Microsoft Ignites. We've done, HP Discover over in London, which was a lot of fun. And then recently we just did OSI Soft in San Francisco. And then we did the NFL draft, which was a huge, it's a bucket list basically for a lot of people. And so it was a lot of fun, and it's a lot of work. These are usually 2 to 3 day events, or mainly 1 to 2 day events. And usually it's limited attendees, but then we do some lunch and learns as well, which we have one coming up June 28th in the Bay Area, or in San Jose. It's security, the new norm, because we know a lot of things are going on right now with, Las Vegas. So we have, panelists from NetApp, who was in Vegas, and we have Cisco and their security team with the Olympics and a lot of different areas. And then we also trying to go back over to Spain again and for the Atlassian conference over there in September. So there's a lot of things we'd like to touch our membership throughout the year and give, if they can't make it to Summit, at least we can touch them and kind of give them part of the family. And so if they do kind of some of these events, they're not feeling overwhelmed, because we are a little overwhelming. The people that know everyone, Tom's shaking his head, Tara, you're doing the same thing, but it's like a big old home week. We haven't seen each other in a long time, but we try to make everyone welcome, no matter if they've been around the industry for 2 years or 20. So
I'm going to say that I've attended both as a sponsor partner and as a producer, and it's every time it's been a very welcoming experience. So you kind of nailed it, I think, on that way. It's I consider it.
And we try to, honestly, the thing right now is just making sure that everything's relevant and that we're constantly ahead of the game. And that's tough with this audience, because they're a challenge, and we want to make sure that they are constantly intrigued. And let's face it, experiential marketing, we've been doing this for 30 years. I mean, it just depends. We just have a new word for it all the time. So so now we could be a trade show manager, but we're still doing it not all the same, but we're thinking that, around these whole quantities that come together with what we do. But I think that giving everyone a different experience and having those intimate conversations, whether it's a roundtable, lunch and learn, if they can walk away with 2 or 3 things that they can take home and feel good about in their day-to-day career or even their life period, then we've done our job. I mean, that's what we just put it out there, and hopefully they bite, so to speak. But it's fun. I mean, I have to say those face-to-face to me is the best way to get anyone's frustrations, what they want to learn, just the body language that people talk about and how frustration or what they're doing at work. You really just, when you get them face to face, you might be going on one angle, but they are way over here on the other, and you help them. It fosters ideas for future things that you need to help them out with.
And for sure, I think everybody who, when we attend events, we know that it really is just about those few nuggets we walk away with. This whole idea of, like you said, if we can get away from the things like, I scanned 2,000 badges. Yes, but did you have 12 good conversations? It's the conversations that are the reason we go to events, right? So you guys are laughing because it's true, right? So,
well, management wants ROIs or ROO, whatever the flavor of the month is. So, yeah.
Yes. Well, and you need to have a return. That's why we go to these things. So, but it's about what's the right return and how do how do we start to measure? I think that a little bit smarter is really interesting. So, Tom, I know you have done a ton of work, with data and leads. And so let's talk a little bit about that. When you're, again, it's evolved so much over the last even 5 years. What are the things that are really showing us measurable value now?
Well, certainly the ability to actually track revenue from an event, so that the events team is no longer seen as the biggest spender in the company, but actually as a rather than a cost center, we're actually a revenue driver. Not that we didn't know that since the dawn of time, but some people actually need to see the numbers. So the beauty of CRM platforms like Salesforce is that you can now track the dollar spend of everybody that attends your event, if that's your outcome. Right, we do B2B sales events, so we obviously want a pretty significant return on our investment, and it's no small investment either. These events are not cheap, but to be able to track one of the attendees and sort of watch their incremental growth from their, whether it's they're already spending because they're a client that we are deepening our relationship with, or whether they're a prospect who has never spent a penny. To be able to track that spend from that point of contact, and also to be able to attribute points of contact, right? Because not all, you may have had a meeting with somebody or taken them to lunch or dinner or met them at a different event. So you never know which touch point truly had the greatest impact. So to be able to attribute percentages of contact to different events so that you're not shortchanging certain events, and you're not over amplifying certain events, right? So that every event is getting a piece of that attribution, and then following that journey down the pipeline, up to, let's say, maybe even the next year, and being able to truly go back and say, we made, 8 times our money on this event. Then when somebody says, should we be doing this again? Should we not be doing this again? You can actually show the numbers and say, of course we should be doing this again. Look at how much money we made on this event. Or you can say, no, we definitely do not want to be doing this event again. It didn't, it actually ended up costing us money to do it. So, now we have ways to show definitive proof instead of just opinions and, feelings.
Well, and I think what you said about the journey is really important, because if we look at something, and let's use Cema as the example, it really is built around a it is a non-selling relationship building environment. But really, that's where relationships, that is what leads to sales. So when you can add that in as a touch point to your overall, as a supplier partner, and I think that we all need to be looking for that. I also feel like, as I was listening to you talk, right or wrong, it's kind of the dirty little secret of sales. Nobody wants to go out and talk about the fact that we're actually tracking people. Do they not notice that if you, click on shoes on your computer, all of a sudden shoes show up? There's a lot of very effective ways of marketing now and ways of targeting people. But ultimately, to me, I think that it's about those areas where you can build trust through the face-to-face experience that are that's where you start to convert your little guys into your big fish. And and you do that by having this face-to-face experience where you can actually go and figure out, what are your pain points? What are your challenges? How can I help you? All of that is really important. So let's talk a little bit about that experience journey. So Kim, as you start to think about, your people are coming in, we want them to, what are the different touch points that you look at to connect the people throughout your event?
So can you just repeat that real quick? I'm having a little trouble hearing you, Tahir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for some reason I seem to be a little light today. So just, let's just talk a little bit about the experience journey. So when people are coming into your event, how are you going through and helping them have those positive touch points?
Well, ours is a little different because we're an association, so I put the board of directors to work in time, because the challenge we have, as I said before, is like Old Home Week, but we need to make sure that everyone is really having a genuine experience and being welcome. And I know I've been to conferences where I have no idea who anyone is, and it's very intimidating. And so we try to have a nice welcoming area where we introduce everyone, and we make sure that if there's a new member sign in, we have the board there to be buddies. We've signed each person up with a buddy of the board, so to speak. So they're basically following them or being their host the whole time they're at Summit. So no matter what, they are always with someone, experiencing it with them if they have any questions, and they introduce them to everyone as well. So ours is a little, the content will always be the content. I mean, we'll always really try to work on the great content. That's our main goal. But honestly, this is really a time for them to sit down and really talk. They're going to learn more from their peers and understand what they need to do, or any advice or any way they can get something done that's maybe a hardship for them, during those few days. And that's what we're really about. I feel that the content is there for them to support the event. It's really about that relationship. And we really try to make them feel like they're part of the family, because it is a family, unfortunately. It's a very dysfunctional family, but it is a family.
You can't pick your family.
I know. You can't pick your family. Well, it's because we kind of pick them, but yeah.
We can pick these guys. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
So we hear like buzzwords out there: engagement, event technology, event tech, all this, how do we use event tech to create engagement? And so Tom, talk to me a little bit about what you got. When you hear those words, event technology and engagement, what does that mean to you? And how are you actually really bringing those words to actually some kind of meaningful fruition?
Yeah, the more we're in this, the more we just see the same old stuff kind of repackaged. But nothing beats a handshake and a warm smile and a conversation. So it's all about creating opportunities for conversation to happen. But as far as event tech goes, there are lots of great tools for engagement. Certainly, event apps are fantastic for creating a ease of the ability for your audience to share your content, right? To be more social, to get more impressions, and to create, a bigger halo than just the folks in the room. So, I love, obviously my background is in social. So I love anything that allows people to share easily. And there are a lot of really cool new companies out there doing some really fascinating stuff. Also, video is huge right now, and it should be. If a picture tells 1,000 words, then video tells 1,000,000. So, having a great and agile video team doing, turning around stuff really quickly and being able to show that stuff to the audience is fantastic. I love doing that kind of stuff, and there's all kinds of other great things that kind of come and go. I've seen throughout the years, like heat maps and just kind of buzzy sort of things that engage you visually, and they're fun to look at. But I haven't really seen them kind of move the needle. They can keep you busy for a minute or two, but then they sort of tend to fall out of fashion. But there are lots of really fun ways to engage the audience on the ground. I'm not so sure it needs to be heavily technological, but
what are some of the, okay, so let's talk about non-tech things, because we have those too. So what are some of the things that you've seen that have really, that you feel really like, yes, that totally worked?
Well, something that Cema did last year at the summit which I thought was awesome, and it was also massive success, and it had a line around the block all weekend, was the headshots booth. The LinkedIn headshot, which I don't care how many times you've done that, you would still want to get in front of that camera, because you can never get how often do you get a professional photographer to take great shots of you? So, but that was incredible, because the line was always engaging, and people were, anything that you can create. Not a line that's so long that it's exhausting, but a line that's just long enough that people are talking and they're excited, and it gives you another opportunity for people to meet each other. Also, the barista was fantastic last year. Can't get over those vanilla lattes. Gotta talk to that company.
He's back again. He's
Oh,
back
good.
again.
So glad to hear that.
There before, so.
Well, no, but the photography was interesting, because we tried something new, because we knew everyone was on LinkedIn. We knew everyone had these social media shots they wanted to have taken, and not everyone likes to get their picture taken in a professional manner. But the way they had us do it, and every picture I looked at was fabulous. There was not
really well done.
There was not one poor picture in the group, and that was impressive.
Yeah, and it's not like you didn't, it wasn't like you invented, headshot photography,
No.
but it was the way it was implemented, and it was the company that you chose to use, and it was the experience was really cool in the way they did it. I also love incorporating music in, because I really think that music solidifies memories, and it really takes you back to a place when you hear a song and you remember that time and place. So for me, music is paramount to events. And I know that we've done some stuff at Cema with some great, I don't know how much we're allowed to talk about certain companies or whatever, but you guys incorporate great musical aspect to Summit last year, which was a lot of fun.
We can talk about whoever we want here.
Blaze, they're all sponsors. They're only going to be happy. So what do they care?
We love name dropping, because you know what? This is a podcast that's for the industry. It's the more that we can, share resources. That's what we're doing. So, because at the end, I'm going to ask you for those good resources. So, it was, who did it last year? Go ahead, tell us.
I'll let Kimberly do the commercial.
Well, I'm talking about Monday night or Tuesday night, or both nights were actually fantastic.
Yeah, both.
Both Monday was LVCDA hosted that whole gig, and then I think the other band was a Heart cover band, and that was from Pro Global Exhibits, or Pro Global Events sponsored that one.
Yep.
And they're both coming back, not the bands per se, but they're both coming back and sponsoring again this year, so that's good.
So we have all new, very exciting things, so it's good. What kind of technology are you actually, let's talk about technology a bit more just because we can. What, are you focused on? What are the things that are going to be making a difference for you? Is it having having a great website at the beginning? Is it using an app? Is it having a facial recognition? What are the things that, where are we going that we think is good?
I'll tell you one of the coolest things. I mean, yes, we do all of that stuff. Well, we don't do facial recognition, although I'm sure it's coming. But
it is.
Yeah. Our events are a little bit more intimate, so I don't think we're at the point where we need to worry about, making sure that everybody. Well, I mean that I think our budget wouldn't allow that either, anyway. But eventually, probably. But one of the coolest things we have now is it's just a soft box with a microphone in it for our Q&A, and we just launch it around the room at each other. So we're going to have one of those for our brand summit coming up in Newport, Rhode Island next month. And Q&A is a real pain to get those microphones to people, and they start talking before before you can get the mic to them, and then they have to start over again, and then you don't know where the next person is. And so basically the speaker is just a soft box with a microphone in it, and you speak right into it, and then when you're done, you just throw it to the next person.
Well, and what I love too about Catchbox is you can totally brand them.
Catchbox, yeah, they're totally brandable. Yeah,
love it.
So it's an inexpensive and fun. It's engaging, and it makes a Q&A, which can be uncomfortable, a little bit more playful. People tend to open up when they're laughing. It's just a fantastic, inexpensive. That's a piece of event tech.
The other thing that you guys, I know, have both incorporated in events is gamification. So, in fact, I've been whooped a few times now by Tom. So
I stopped playing. I'm not even playing anymore.
So gamification does work for lots of different reasons. It helps. And I know, Kim, you've done it a few different ways now with Cema. So what keeps you trying to add gamification to the events, and how do you see it benefiting?
As much as I like to say that all of us are very extroverts, we're not. And a lot of these people really, the game kind of brings them out of their comfort zone and gets them talking to people that they normally wouldn't talk to. And it also, you make it so in a way that whether it's a scavenger hunt or anything, you start getting teams, and you start getting that, okay, I'm going to hang out with you, but you start figuring it out, and it's just another networking icebreaker kind of thing. Plus there's a competitiveness that our group is very, there's like 6 of us that are very competitive. In fact, one year when I was on the board, before I took this job, I was competing. I had to get myself out because I was winning and I wasn't allowed to win. So, which I thought was a terrible thing, but we're very competitive and we're fun. But that's what I see the gamification is. And it also helps if you have sponsors, if you have a marketplace, if you have some place where people can go visit and really talk to them, but you have to make it so it's meaningful that they're talking to them, not just, I'm going to go get a dot and move on. Mm-hmm. So, but this, we have a very unique group where they really want to learn the technology. They really want to understand who's there, because there's a lot of new innovation that we do bring. And we are trying to bring in facial recognition just so the audience can see it, how it works this year.
Yeah, it's so interesting, when we look at all of the different things that are happening out there, from AI and chatbots. And are you guys using a chatbot yet? I'm dying to have a chatbot.
We did last year. We did. And we have, and it was actually everyone, they got a nice little welcome from me when they got off the airplane and everything like that. So it's, you have to make sure that, you've got it manned. So if they're asking all those questions, it's all good. But we are, the chatbots are fun. And this group, again, gamification can also be brought in as chatbots, which is a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, there's this statistic that I saw that was South by Southwest had 56,000 questions answered by chatbot. So now I want my own chatbot for our event, and I want to name her Tahi. So
I just want to send my chatbot to work in the morning.
oh, that would be great.
And then just have a standee.
Yeah.
That'd be great because they could just answer all the questions that people ask you during the day. I love it. Are you guys using chatbots, Tom?
No, not yet.
I was going to say, it's never a no. It's always a not yet.
Not yet.
So what are you going to use next that you think is going to be the thing that you're going to be so happy about?
Oof.
Bartender.
Well, for me, I've never been a fan of badges, and I never will be. I hate wearing them. I can't stand how big and bulky and swingy and flappy in the wind and low they hang, and I don't like anything about it. And unfortunately, so far, it's kind of cost prohibitive to have everybody wearing, AI glasses that immediately tell you who's in front of you and what they do and where they live and how many dogs they have, etc. But we're getting there, right? At some point, you're basically just going to have information hovering over your head that other people can see, whether it's in a contact lens or in a pair of glasses, that that sort of removes all of the social barriers pretty much instantly and gives us an opportunity to know who exactly we're walking up to. We don't have to awkwardly look down at their certain areas to see what their name is, which is just so.
So we actually have to back it up here because we've had Charlotte has said, well, can you tell us, for those of us that don't know what a chatbot is, tell us what a chatbot is. So
sure.
Who wants to take that on?
Yeah, I mean, the chatbot is just it's just artificial intelligence that is programmed to, and it's either has somebody on the other end answering the questions, or it is pre-programmed with as many answers as possible, and the ones that can't be answered can be handed off to a human. But it is basically packaged in the form of a human. So if it's done properly, the attendee should not know the difference. They shouldn't, it should basically be able to pass the Turing test.
And when we start have, service providers like hotels and airlines, if I go onto my airline site and I see Jen's little face there, it's not really Jen.
That's not Jen.
And the great thing too about it being AI is that, artificial intelligence is that it's also learning every time you ask it a question and get an answer. So
it should be getting smarter.
It gets
just
smarter.
Not smart enough to destroy the human race.
No, we won't get that smart.
Or find you a date. Which someone did ask our chatbot for a date, so that was a little embarrassing. But no, but to your question, it's also just for an example. Someone asked, "Where can I pick up the nearest?" When they landed in San Diego, where do I go get the Uber? Just for an example. And the chatbot right away came back and said, go around here to this area, you'll pick it up, and then here's the phone number if you need it. So you pre-populate as much as you can, but you will never, ever be able to, just know what everyone's brain's thinking about. So,
Siri is a perfect example for folks who are, Siri is basically a chatbot.
Absolutely. And Siri's really smart though. Siri's learned a lot. It's kind of crazy. So
it's getting better.
So besides technology, what are the other things that we're seeing right now that you're specifically your members are looking at? I feel like right now in our industry, we have a lot of things like, dealing with active situations, those kinds of things. What are the other things that they're looking for as you start to develop your program?
For us, audience acquisition was a big discussion topic, and going really deep into that and what other people are doing, other companies, whether you're a 10,000 person conference to a 500 conference. So it's and the measurement behind that, and what are you really looking for? So that seems to be a very hot button from last year to this year, is one of those topics that we're seeing.
Absolutely. So Tom, you're out there actually in the trenches. So what are you hoping to see on a program when you go to an event that's just not quite there yet? Maybe something you're like, oh, I wish they would talk about.
Uh, Yeah, I mean, I still think that the ROI conversation isn't being addressed enough, and I think it's a hot topic. I also,
Do you feel like it's, and this was really only kind of occurred to me today, but I do feel like it is that kind of, it's that little dirty secret nobody wants to talk about, that what actually, we want to talk about ROI in the terms of people feel good about their experience.
right. Well, our industry has been very comfortable for the last million years, with comfortable metrics, butts in seats, RSVPs, post-event surveys, right? Stuff like that. And they still have their place, obviously. We want every seat in the theater full. But what if you found out that only 2 people in a theater of 100 were actual potential clients? Then, right? So great. The metric is you filled the room, but only 2% of the people that attended were potential buyers. So don't you want to know that? Don't you want to know how to ensure that at least 80 to 85% of those people are in those seats are the right folks? So, we can't, especially since the technology exists, we can no longer sort of fall back on the old, instead of return on investment, let's call it return on experience or return on happiness or return on, you can add any letter you want after it.
Return on anything.
Right. But when you go to ask for your budget next year and somebody says, did we make any money on this event? You have to have an answer, or else, how do you get the incremental budget for the next year?
Yeah, and I think it's also really understanding, what their metrics are. It's whether it's, it's actually hard sales, whether it's that they were able to meet somebody that didn't turn necessarily into a specific sale at the time. But again, it's about being able to track those touch points we now have the ability to do, but don't do very well. Or, the summit that I've been planning, the deals will happen much later after the event. And so we're doing, with our amazing data department, 6 month out, 1 year out surveys back to people to say, of the 18 conversations that you thought you were going to have after this event, how many of those did you have? How many turned into something, an innovation, a collaboration, or whatever it might be? Because that's, we're looking at economic growth overall in an industry. So how do you track that? So it's understanding really what people's expectations are at the beginning, and not being afraid to have those big picture business conversations, because at the end of the day, we're planning business events. So it's, it really is.
So I just saw a comment pop up about opt-in, and that is very important. One of the topics that I've been just dealing with a lot lately and programming into the content of our events is GDPR, which was, panic. Then May 25th hit, and now it's like, are we going to get in trouble? Did we do it right? Does anybody know what's going on? Is Facebook really getting sued for $8 billion? What, So, I mean, if you're going to collect people's information, we just found out today that Facebook sold data to some Chinese cell company. Great. So now, now I'm going to get targeted from, Chinese advertisers too. So awesome. But
that's all right. Everyone's listening to everyone.
Yeah. And I know and so most people are like just so exhausted by it that they're like, I don't even care anymore. As long as I can see what Aunt Joanne is up to on Facebook, I'm cool with it. But we have to be really careful with the data that we're collecting from people, and we have to be very upfront and transparent about why we're collecting it, what we're going to do with it, and then we have to be really careful with it, and we have to make sure that we're secure and that we're not allowing anybody to get it.
Well, and also a lot of that relies on, I mean, I live in Canada, so we've basically had the Canadian version of GDPR for years, and it was a phased roll in, and we've had it for 5, 7, 8 years of essentially the same sort of things. But I know that it's, where's my data being stored? Is it being stored on servers in Canada, or is it being stored on servers in, and when somebody comes back and says, well, it's being stored on an Amazon server, how does that help me?
Amazon has servers all over the world. So where is it?
Yeah. So it's, it is about understanding of that, and also that opt-in and how much information can we actually put out there. Which typically is going to be something as simple as my name. I show up on an attendee list with my name, but until I choose to share other information with you, it's not accessible. So yeah, Reed's absolutely right. That whole opt-in is really kind of our next level. And you can't do a blanket opt-in at the beginning. It's kind of like if you're going to go bungee jumping, you can't just sign on the website and say bungee jumping is safe. You have to still show up and decide at the moment how much you want to opt into. And of course that affects all of our things. So you guys have been great. We've almost used up our hour.
Oh, wow. That was fast.
I know it does go fast. I was akin it to a spin class. At the beginning you're like, oh, and at the end you're like, whew, that was awesome. So,
okay, I'll think about that the next time I'm in a spin class.
Right. Yeah. You can just think about this great conversation. So, all right. So if you could only pick one key thing, what's going to be your one big tip for event professionals? Whoa. I know it's a doozy.
I'd say, you know what, it's really easy to get in the nitty gritty and constantly put your head down and just do the work, but you really need to start promoting yourself and promoting what you do and be heard. And a lot of people in the event industry do not do that enough. It's a big passion of mine because I feel that we do a hell of a lot of work. People don't even know the things that we put up with, and we are the worst advocates for ourselves. And I think that is the most, that's probably the biggest advice I could give anyone that's coming into this industry.
I love that.
Yeah. Obviously I put a lot of time into my personal brand. So that resonates, and I like to hear that.
Well, I think it's two things. It's the personal brand, and it's also the industry as a whole, right? So it's just that, you know what, we do ridiculous things that people don't understand at all.
Oh God,
so
the stories,
you don't even. I mean, if I could write another book. You could write a book on my experiences.
Yes, I know, right? So it's good. I have a little bit of time off this summer, so we'll talk. I'm gonna write another book for sure. So it was so fun the first time. So any new cool resources you want to share? You can totally name drop.
Let me drop my one thing. My one thing I think would be to get yourself a mentor, or somebody who has been in the industry for a long time, and really utilize them, right? Like really put them to task. If they're going to be your mentor, make sure that they're really in your court, and they're teaching you everything that they've been through, and that they're because this industry is crazy, and it's a wild west, and it's really hard to navigate, and it can be an extremely painful place if you go at it alone. So to have an advocate and have a strong network and a great mentor, somebody who's really been through it, and can kind of be there to watch your back.
And I just want to add on to that. I think people worry about the mentor should be a certain person. A mentor can be what you need at this time in your life to make yourself successful. Do I need more help in social media? Do I need more help? And how do I express my opinions to my management? How things like that. So don't always think it has to be.
How do you ask for a raise?
Right.
How many people don't know how to ask for a raise?
So I think you just need to think about that the mentor doesn't have to be this, a seasoned professional. It could also be a peer that they have a different trait that you don't have.
Totally.
And you want to learn from that person. So it can be 4 or 5 different mentors can help you get to the next level.
And that's where you come back to the value of something, exactly like Cema, where you have a big network to reach out to. You're encouraged to reach out to them. You have multiple opportunities through the year to get together with people and to have those conversations, and to ask some of those hard questions. And I think that, one of the things I'd love to see at events is where let's call it instead of the hot topic room, let's call it the hard question room, where you can really just go and kind of deep dive into some of those things that you might even be embarrassed to ask, and there's organizations out there, that have
great idea.
there are forums and things where you can have those conversations, and I think it would just be really interesting to see that happen. So we'll see if we can make that happen. So any cool, because I'm going to wrap up. It's crazy. New cool resources you want to share? Anything that's fun? Anything that's websites, blogs, favorite book? You can totally name drop. And if not, we'll just.
No, we do.
I
will say this: we have a speaker at Summit. He's coming in. He's I don't know if you've ever heard of Ohit Bakarva.
No.
I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but has a book. He just came out with non-obvious new trends for 2018. So a new predict trends and win the future with items that are coming out. So he has a new book. He's a storyteller, innovator. He's speaking at Summit. So, but he has a lot of really great, useful things in this book, and it kind of makes you start thinking. So I'll just throw that out there.
That's excellent. You can just throw that into the chat so we get the name in the book right. That would be fabulous, and include those later. Anything from you, Tom?
Not obvious. No, I'm just, I'm always available if anybody ever has any questions or wants to talk about anything or bounce ideas.
It's true, you are.
LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Reach out.
I'm going to tell you guys, it is
very
true.
accessible, Tom.
Yes, Tom and we have done some interesting things together just from the little reach out, haven't we? So it's been good.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
I may have hit one button earlier, so you guys are going to have to stick around so we can recap a couple of questions. It's all good though. We are recorded live each Wednesday if someone hits the button. You can generally watch behind the scenes on Facebook Live, and then you'll see it going back up with the link on Facebook next Tuesday when we get it all pretty. It is also going to be available on iTunes, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, whatever your favorite podcast app is. And of course, event-icons.com will have the show notes as well as any of the resources and things we've talked about throughout the show. And you can obviously just do #EventIcons and hang out anytime with us. So thank you guys very much. Let us know what icons you want to hear on the show, and reach out to these guys. They're amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of #EventIcons. To catch the transcription and all of the resources mentioned, head to www.helloendless.com/blog. This week's episode will be posted and available by next Tuesday. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway and join the social conversation. Sponsored by Little Bird Told Media. Just tag your post with #EventIcons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on #EventIcons.